Have you ever noticed how the most brilliant people in the room often say the least? How they seem to move through conversations with a quiet confidence that commands respect without demanding attention? It's not coincidence. It's not shyness, and it's definitely not because they lack opinions or insights. The truth is, genuinely intelligent people have developed a set of silent habits that most of us completely overlook. These aren't loud behaviors that scream for recognition. They're subtle patterns that work beneath the surface, shaping how they think, respond, and navigate the world around them. Today, we're diving deep into the psychology behind these quiet practices. Not the obvious ones like reading more or asking better questions, but the hidden behaviors that reveal true intellectual sophistication. Habits so understated, they almost disappear into the background, yet they fundamentally change how smart people process information, make decisions, and build genuine influence. By the end of this exploration, you'll understand why silence isn't empty space for intelligent minds, it's strategic territory. Strategic. Let's start with something that happens every single day, yet most people never notice it. Smart people pause before they speak, not because they're unsure of themselves, but because they understand something crucial about human communication. The space between hearing and responding is where wisdom lives. While others rush to fill silence with immediate reactions, intelligent individuals use those few seconds to process, evaluate, and choose their words deliberately. This isn't hesitation, it's calculation. During that brief pause, their minds are running through multiple scenarios. What's the real question being asked? What's the emotional state of the person speaking? What outcome will different responses create? They've learned that the first thought isn't always the best thought, and the loudest voice rarely carries the most weight. Psychology calls this cognitive flexibility, the ability to adapt thinking based on context rather than defaulting to automatic responses. Think about the last heated discussion you witnessed. Who had more influence? The person shouting their position repeatedly, or the one who spoke less frequently but with more precision? Smart people have noticed this pattern everywhere. They've observed that urgency in response often signals insecurity, while thoughtful delay suggests confidence and control. Here's what's fascinating about this habit. That small pause doesn't just improve their communication, it trains their brain to slow down in other areas too. Decision-making becomes more deliberate, problem-solving becomes more thorough, emotional regulation becomes more stable. One tiny behavioral shift creates ripple effects across their entire cognitive process. The second silent habit involves something most people treat as background noise. Smart people listen for what isn't being said. While the average person focuses on the words coming out of someone's mouth, intelligent individuals are tracking the gaps, the hesitations, the topics being avoided, and the emotions hiding behind the language. They've developed what psychologists call metacognitive awareness. They're not just processing the content of conversations, they're analysing the structure, the subtext, and the underlying patterns. When someone says they're fine but their voice carries tension, smart people notice. When a colleague repeatedly mentions how busy they are, intelligent listeners hear the request for help that's never directly stated. When a friend keeps changing the subject away from certain topics, they recognize the emotional boundaries being protected. This level of listening requires enormous mental discipline. Your brain wants to prepare your next response while someone else is talking. It wants to relate their experience to your own stories. It wants to judge, categorize, and react. But smart people have trained themselves to resist these impulses. They listen with their full attention, treating every conversation like a puzzle with hidden pieces. The result? They understand people at a level that feels almost supernatural to others. They can predict behavior, anticipate needs, and respond to problems before they're explicitly stated. This isn't mind reading. It's pattern recognition applied to human communication. And it only works when you're willing to stay quiet long enough to gather real information. The third habit might surprise you. Smart people deliberately seek out information that contradicts their existing beliefs. Most of us live in echo chambers without realizing it. We follow news sources that confirm our opinions, spend time with people who think similarly, and avoid ideas that make us uncomfortable. But intelligent individuals do the opposite. They actively hunt for perspectives that challenge their assumptions. This behavior goes against basic human psychology. Our brains are wired to seek confirmation and avoid cognitive dissonance. It feels good when someone agrees with us and uncomfortable when they don't. But smart people have learned to reframe that discomfort as valuable data. When they encounter an opposing viewpoint, instead of getting defensive, they get curious. What does this person see that I might be missing? What experiences led them to this conclusion? How might I be wrong about this? They read books by authors they disagree with. They engage with people from different backgrounds and belief systems. They ask questions designed to understand rather than to win arguments. This constant exposure to diverse thinking keeps their minds flexible and their knowledge base expanding. But here's the crucial part. They do this quietly. They don't announce their intellectual humility or broadcast their open-mindedness. They simply collect information, test their assumptions, and adjust their thinking based on evidence rather than emotion. And adjust their thinking based on evidence than emotion. This process happens internally, away from public view. There's no social media post about changing their mind on an important issue. No dramatic announcement about discovering they were wrong. Just quiet recalibration based on new information. This intellectual humility becomes a competitive advantage because it keeps them learning while others remain stuck in outdated thinking patterns. The fourth silent habit centers around how smart people handle their own mistakes and failures. While most people either hide their errors or make excuses for them, intelligent individuals do something completely different. They study their failures like scientists examining data, not with self-criticism or shame, but with genuine curiosity about what went wrong and why. When they make a poor decision, they don't just move on and hope it doesn't happen again. They replay the situation in their minds, identifying the specific moment where their thinking went off track. Was it missing information, emotional interference, faulty assumptions, time pressure? They treat each mistake as a case study in their own cognitive patterns. This analysis happens privately without fanfare or public confession. They're not seeking sympathy or attention for their errors. They're mining them for insights that will prevent similar mistakes in the future. Psychology calls this metacognitive reflection, the ability to think about your own thinking processes. It's one of the strongest predictors of learning speed and decision quality over time. What makes this habit particularly powerful is how it shapes their relationship with risk and uncertainty. Because they've learned to extract value from failures, they become more willing to take calculated risks. They understand that mistakes are tuition payments for better judgment. This creates a positive feedback loop where they attempt more challenging problems, learn faster from setbacks, and gradually expand their capabilities. The fifth habit might be the most counterintuitive of all. Smart people intentionally limit their exposure to information. This sounds backwards in our age of infinite content, but there's sophisticated psychology behind it. They've recognized that consuming more information doesn't automatically lead to better thinking. In fact, information overload often creates the opposite effect, degrading decision quality and increasing mental fatigue. Instead of trying to read everything, know everything, and have opinions about everything, they become extremely selective about what deserves their mental energy. They choose a few high-quality sources over many mediocre ones. They focus deeply on subjects that matter, rather than skimming broadly across topics that don't. They understand the difference between being informed and being overwhelmed. This selectivity extends to their digital consumption habits. While others scroll endlessly through social media feeds, smart people curate their information diet with the same care they'd use choosing food for their body. They ask themselves whether each piece of content will genuinely improve their thinking or just satisfy their curiosity. If it's the latter, they skip it. The result is clearer thinking, better focus, and more mental energy for the information that actually matters. They become deeper rather than broader, developing genuine expertise instead of surface-level familiarity with countless topics. This depth gives them real influence in their chosen areas, while others remain diluted across too many interests. The final habit brings everything together. Smart people regularly engage in what psychologists call deliberate reflection. They set aside time, usually daily, to think through their experiences without distraction. No phones, no multitasking, just quiet analysis of what happened, what they learned, and what they might do differently next time. This isn't casual daydreaming or random mental wandering. It's structured thinking time where they connect patterns across different experiences, identify emerging trends in their life and work, and make sense of complex situations that don't have obvious solutions. They treat their own life like a research project, constantly gathering insights about what works, what doesn't, and why. During these reflection periods, they often discover connections that weren't visible in the moment. They realize how a conversation from last week relates to a problem they're facing today. They notice patterns in their behavior that need adjustment. They develop strategies for upcoming challenges based on lessons from past experiences. This ongoing analysis turns their life experiences into compound learning, where each situation builds understanding that applies far beyond that specific moment. Beyond that specific moment. These silent habits reveal something profound about how intelligence actually works. It's not about having the loudest voice or the quickest response. It's not about consuming the most information or appearing the smartest in every conversation. Real intelligence operates quietly, strategically, beneath the surface of everyday interactions. The pause before speaking, the deep listening for hidden meanings, the willingness to challenge your own beliefs, the careful analysis of personal failures, the selective filtering of information, and the regular practice of deliberate reflection. Each of these habits works individually, but together they create something much more powerful. They form an integrated system for thinking better, learning faster, and navigating complexity with genuine wisdom. What makes these behaviors truly remarkable is how accessible they are. You don't need special training or natural talent to develop them. You just need to recognize their value and begin practicing them consistently. Start with one habit that resonates most with you. Notice how it changes not just your interactions, but your entire approach to processing the world around you. Smart people understand that true intelligence isn't about what you know. It's about how you think, how you learn, and how you adapt. These silent habits are the tools that make all of that possible. And the best part? No one will even notice you're developing them, except through the quiet confidence and clear thinking that naturally follows.